Don't you just hate when you're walking in a yard and you step in some dog mess? It's the absolute worst, especially when I'm already dealing with human mess. Now I've got to deal with that on my boot. Today, what we're going to talk about is outlet baffles, and specifically the candy cane style baffle. What is it? Why is it bad? And do you have one in your house? Before we get into that, though, I want you to go ahead down below. Let me know, how often are you pumping your septic system? Are you doing it every year? Every 3 years? Maybe you've never pumped your tank in the past at all. But go ahead and leave that comment below. Let's start the conversation and see what you guys are doing. We've talked about septic tanks in the past. Now, these systems are basically clarifiers. So when you flush your toilet, all the water is going to go from the house to the tank. The heavy stuff will fall to the bottom. That's your sludge. Liquid will stay in the middle. That's your effluent. And up top, you are going to see what's called scum. That's all of your floating stuff, your toilet paper, hair, fats, oils, greases, stuff like that. In the tank, you want to separate as many of those solids as physically possible out of suspension. You're not going to catch all of it, and most of the issue that we're going to run into is dealing with the scum. So on the back of the tank, you're going to see what's called an outlet baffle. They exist on the front, but they're not nearly as important as the one on the back. The outlet baffle is going to prevent all of that floating stuff from getting into the pipe and causing a problem. As the water exits the tank, that's where it's going to go to a drain field or a dry well or whatever type of system that you have. Most commonly, you're going to see baffles are either made of concrete or they're made of PVC. There are a variety of styles and shapes, but today we're going to focus on those ones. As the scum is floating on the top of the water, the liquid, the effluent, is going to come underneath of the baffle, up and out through the outlet side. The scum is going to get stuck on the face of the baffle, which is going to not be able to exit the tank. If the baffle is not there, or if it's not doing its job, what'll happen is all that junk, debris, scum, sludge, etc., will work its way into the absorption area, causing clogs, backups, any kind of issue, mainly dealing with the flow of liquid. Not what you want to see. Some people would install what's called a candy cane baffle. What is that? Now, know how a candy cane is shaped like this, right? When we have a normal baffle, it's a T-shape pipe. So the T-shaped pipe has air up top, water on the bottom, and your flow in the middle. Candy cane, you don't have that air up top. So what can happen is, as the water's flowing, it'll still come up through the pipe and out through the outlet line. But let's say, for example, you fill the water all the way up above that pipe. Enough, let's just say the sludge level in the bottom fills up enough to where now you're restricting flow, and all of a sudden the water is released. What'll happen is it'll create a siphoning effect. And basically how you can make this happen is if you take a hose, stick it into a pool, for example, you submerge that hose all the way. You fill that hose with water, and then you throw the hose while it's full of water down a hill or out of the pool. You're going to create a siphoning effect to where even though you're not pulling the water actively, the water will continue to flow and pull itself out of the vessel. So what can happen with the candy cane baffle is if the liquid level rises up and covers the pipe completely, you can end up having all of that water in the tank siphon up and out to the bottom of your outlet baffle. The issue with this is now you're potentially pulling in scum, you're potentially sucking in sludge, you're pulling all sorts of extra stuff out of the system and directly into your absorption area. Another concern that people will have is going to be ventilation. So sewer gas is really, really corrosive. Most commonly, if you have a drain field system, you're going to have what's called a distribution box. It's a little tiny concrete box. Sometimes they're plastic, but it's a little tiny concrete box. And what happens is, as the water exits the tank, it will go to the box, and from the box, it will then go into the absorption area. If you're not venting that gas just sits there and starts chewing and chewing and chewing on the concrete until eventually it gets so weak that it collapses, roots start getting in there, all sorts of not so pleasant things start to happen to the box. Once the distribution box is compromised, now your flow through the entire system is compromised. The candy cane baffle is going to not really allow that air or the gas to escape the distribution box or the absorption area, and it's going to have an issue with the corrosion. The other issue with bad ventilation is going to be the flow of water, right? If you think about a soda bottle, when you turn it upside down, how it glugs, if you cut a hole in the top of the soda bottle, do the exact same thing, you'll see the water or the liquid is going to flow out of the bottle much faster and smoother. Same concept happens with the plumbing in your home. That's why when you have your toilet flush, you have that vent on the top of your roof, so that way when you flush the toilet, the water's able to go because it's got it's got room for the air to be displaced. Same concept can happen with a candy cane baffle. If you're not able to displace the air, it can cause some drainage issues, which again leads to the issue of the water coming up over the pipe, potentially causing a siphoning effect, and is going to cause issues for you. How do you fix this? Great question. So typically how you're going to address this problem is you're going to drill a hole on the top of the candy cane. That is going to help deal with it. Most commonly, we generally will just replace the candy cane outright with a T-baffle, call it a day, and now you're back to what you should have had in the first place. I am curious, though, how many installers, if you're an installer or somebody who installs these as well, how many candy cane baffles do you come across? I used to come across them probably 5 times a month. I can't tell you the last time I had a candy cane baffle. It might be well over 4 or 5 months since I've had one. Seems like at least in our area, everybody's finally gotten rid of them. But let me know in your area, is that still what people are using? And why do you think it's a good idea if you are the one installing them? Let's have that conversation below. I have videos posted every day on the World of Well and Septic. If you enjoyed this one, though, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.